great content creation engine, which is you. You have a great content creation at This Week in Startups, which is you. And then you've got this advertiser set up, so you got ad dollars coming in. How do you get leverage so that it's non-linear? Any great business has a non-linear scaling function. And in your business, you guys are limited, and this is something we've talked with Jenny and Mr. Geese about. Like, if it's just you making the content, you can only make X number of units of content per month, per year. So that limits the scalability of the revenue for your organization in terms of how big this can get. Do you ever think about putting leverage in the system where you do almost like what a Spielberg does with an Amblin Entertainment or any great director, producer does, where they scale up, they become the producer,
network.
They create a network, they create a studio model, and then you have several content shows that are under your brand. And have you ever thought about that? Is that kind of the model where this is eventually going to go, where some of the great breakouts are going to end up realizing they can kind of scale up and build the next studio model?
If you want to do that, then fine, but I have no desire to start managing a ton of other content creators. Managing myself is...
Have you sold your show, but you have others that you kind of bet on, basically?
Perhaps, I guess. It just doesn't speak to me all that much, and I think the question is, what do you need this additional money for? Like, what is it that you just need to continue to build, like, more and more profit?
Right.
Because I quite like where I'm at. I like the level of revenue that I make, the workload that I have, the fact that I get to spend a morning reading, and I don't feel like I should have been on more Zoom calls. So my ability to put my foot on the gas or take it off is exclusively on me, as opposed to having other obligations. So it's very much a lifestyle business, and I understand that that's going to cap the upside. Now, there's some things, I can start CPG, I can start to do some clever stuff with ads where that will begin to ramp and ramp and ramp. But yeah, I mean,
you've got a limited upside with how you spend your time now. You don't have to do work 24/7.
Absolutely, and there may be a day when I decide to press that button again, but it's not right now. But just to, like, before Jason jumps in, you've got YouTube AdSense, partners, Spotify partner program, which is brand new, and that's actually cranking quite a lot. And then the one area that I think way more podcasters need to look at, which is monetizing clips. So you do mid-roll ads on a long podcast episode, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 minutes, 120 minutes into an episode, but you can also be 7 minutes into an 8-minute long clip. And you can crank clips out all the time. So you can be putting out one a day.
Right. And so there's other points of leverage.
Exactly. So you can look at, okay, how can we be a little bit more innovative? We can put Instagram stories, or we can use newsletters to be sort of 360 deals and fill out all of the ecosystem where you can without obliterating the viewing experience and like making the audience hate you.
I think that's well said, and there's going to be international as well with AI. I don't know if you've experimented. We have a company podcast AI, so dubbing stuff, and then that'll be built into YouTube. So all of a sudden you'll be in Spanish, Japanese, and French, and the whole cycle will start all over again. But I did actually try that with This Week in Startups. I got the domain name thisweekin.com, and we did This Week in Poker with Annie Duke, and This Week in blank, This Week in blank, This Week in Comedy. We tried a bunch of those. The problem was...
But you did different shows?
I did some different shows in the beginning. I did it for about a year, and what I realized was you could get, average hosts, broadcast hosts, but you couldn't get someone like Chris or Andy Duke for the long term. We had a guy, Dave Pensado, who's a music producer, and I wanted to do This Week in Music. He wanted to do the Dave Pensado show. He had his own view. And the really great creators, what they realize is, I want control of my art. I want control of my brand. I want to own my IP. I want to pick my team. I don't want to be part of a machine. And so what we're seeing is people like Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson now are free. Ben Shapiro started with, he was on AM radio in Los Angeles, and then he worked for Breitbart. And now he's got his own company. He makes his own decisions. I think a lot of the most talented people will want to be independent practitioners.
So there's a sort of a weird level that people get to. Anybody who is sufficiently talented for you to think that they're an A-grade player is probably not going to want to sit underneath anybody else. And if someone isn't that good, you're kind of just filling the air with something that maybe isn't going to catch.
But in the new media world, is it all just lots of independent producers and there's no studio model?
I think so.
Absolutely.
I think so, because a lot of people want that lifestyle.
What happens when you get rid of distribution? Like, it's not like we have to ask somebody for permission anymore. It's not like the record labels where you had to have distribution. You had to go to Columbia Records if you were Bob Dylan to be in a record store. You can just do it.
Yeah. Well, I think the question is the economic mode being, can you reinvest capital in creating high quality content? Because if that capital is invested well, it creates an audience. So
that's
you give certain people money, people will show up.
More money comes out.
Yeah, more money comes out.
Yeah, so some high points of leverage would be getting a strategist who understands the YouTube algorithm and can ensure that no matter what it is you're recording and how honest and truthful that is to your instinct, it's being presented in the best way. The algorithm. We can repurpose. What are the sections that we're choosing? So one thing that hasn't been spoken about today, which is interesting on YouTube, is timeliness. So YouTube is increasingly becoming where people go to find out their news. So maybe you see something that trends on Twitter and you'll catch some clip of some kind.
Yeah.
But then quickly over to YouTube, okay, where's the breakdown? Yeah. And you'll have seen, to use Shapiro as a good example, Daily Winer, I think it's called Ben After Dark or something like that. It's not Ben After Dark, it's Ben in his living room, because something's happened today, and before he can get back into the studio tomorrow, they need to get video. Trump gets shot today, you need to do your video today, because people are going to be going, and that's the hack to get to the top. Because
we've had this issue where we put out a show, because we record Thursday mornings, and it doesn't publish usually until Friday afternoon. Something happens Thursday after we record, and the show sucks. And literally no one watches it. Yeah, no one watches the show.
That's not true. Everyone still watches it, but everybody
volume goes down,
freak out.
40% down.
What are we going to do?
But it's literally
like a 24-hour turnaround. It's like, sorry, that's stale, that's old.
That's right.
Which is crazy when you think about it. I mean, I think this is the next great opportunity will be somebody who just is sitting there and has the ability to go live at any time.
And this is what a lot of streaming is doing, right? You look at Hassan Abi, you look at Destiny, you look at Asmongold, Charlie, Penguin Zero. All of these guys are doing it now. Yeah, they're also playing, like video games too, but they're commenting on a lot of culture, and they crush on this. Not because they're insane cultural commentators that are really deep in the research, but because they're timely and they've usually got some take.
But it'd be really fascinating if somebody with depth, imagine if Sam Harris, when some breaking news story happened, turned on his live stream, and you're like, oh my God, we've got Sam Harris commenting on this assassination attempt, et cetera. And you see it in sports. I noticed Bill Simmons has started, whenever there's a major trade, when the Kyrie trade happened, when the Luka Doncic trade happened, he just goes